We've got breaking news out of the NFL where 49ers quarterback Jimmy Garoppolo is expected to undergo surgery on his throwing shoulder, as confirmed by our Jonathan Jones and Jason Canfora. That procedure would reportedly sideline Garoppolo until this summer. ESPN also reports that despite the surgery, Garoppolo is likely to be traded this month. Jimmy G has spent the past 5 seasons in San Francisco after starting his career in New England. All right, we're here with heavy hitters only. Jason Canfora, Jonathan Jones, Pete Prisco here in Indy for the NFL Draft Combine. Some non-combine news coming in here. JLC, what can you tell us about the procedure, a timeline of events? What's the latest you're hearing, and how does this affect things moving forward for Garoppolo?
It definitely affects things moving forward for Garoppolo. I don't have finality yet on the exact time frame of when he's going to be able to throw and perform for teams, but the sense I get is that's not going to be happening anytime soon. Look, I talked to a couple general managers this morning who were in the quarterback market. I wasn't hearing that there was a whole lot more than a 4 possible for Jimmy Garoppolo. That's before this was the case. So I think the San Francisco 49ers, I won't call it a bind, because I actually kind of feel like they need Jimmy Garoppolo. And if the market's saying a 3 or a 4 that could move to a 3, how is that going to help him win a Super Bowl if Trey Lance isn't ready to go, if he's not who Kyle Shanahan needs him to be? And I think we need to be realistic about just how little big-time football Trey Lance has played in his life.
Yeah, I agree that it seems improbable that this team that just went as deep as they did in the playoffs would ultimately hand the car over to Trey Lance right now when they have Jimmy Garoppolo under contract. But everything there that they've been talking about has certainly been Jimmy Garoppolo after the 2021 season is done. Now, how much does this change things? Because are you going to get a bag of chips for Jimmy Garoppolo at this point? You talk about a 4th rounder. I think sort of realistically, it was probably going to be a 5th maybe is what he could be had for. Of course, if they would have continued winning in the playoffs, if he would have been a Super Bowl winning quarterback, they could have gotten a 1st for him, could have gotten a 2nd for him if those things were to happen. But now you have a guy who has a number of injuries, Pete.
That's the problem.
He's had the knee injury, he had the finger injury, and now it's the shoulder, and there's probably a couple more that I'm forgetting in there. But this is the guy that you're going to ultimately be trading for and entrusting your franchise to.
But not only that, if you trade for him and he's healthy, you also have to pay him, because you're not going to trade valuable assets for a guy.
You could tag him. You could then tag him
but
after
that's still
that.
paying him, though, technically. And so, now maybe they don't deal him, or if you do deal him, a deal for him, the price comes down and you're not going to have to give up as much. I've heard teams that were willing to give up like a 3rd rounder or something for him. Now, I don't think you're going to give up a 3rd rounder for him.
Well, and this also could be a case where he gets healthy, he's performing in the preseason, and then a Sam Bradford situation emerges where, like when we saw Teddy Bridgewater go down, now all of a sudden, they get a 1 in Philadelphia for Sam Bradford. They move off of him early. There's been too much smoke, too much of a push out of San Francisco about he's going to be traded, as if it's a fait accompli. And I almost feel like they doth protest too much. And the market doesn't really make sense for them. This is a big deal, and they can afford him under the cap if
I wouldn't trade him. I'll be honest with you. I wouldn't trade him. You can't take this team that's built to win now and say, here you go, Trey Lance, it's your team now. Let's see what you can do.
I understand you. I hear both of you. I think that they are going to do that, though.
I agree. I'm saying I wouldn't.
Yeah.
I agree with you. I think they will trade him.
I know we haven't dialed in the exact timing of when this surgery is going to occur, but timing is an important note here. Why is this occurring now? Does that tell you anything, JJ? This was an injury suffered throughout the NFL playoffs.
That's right.
We're a month plus removed from that. Does the timing of this news tell you anything?
So I can report that this was the throwing shoulder that he injured during the Dallas Cowboys playoff game, and so it is interesting. Obviously, for Jimmy Garoppolo, who wants to get paid, get that contract extension, he obviously wants to be best suited on another football team. He didn't want to get surgery. I'm sure he wanted to be able to figure out, hey, all right, maybe this will heal on its own. And at this point, they have now realized that this is what's going to have to happen. So let me go ahead and get this done and understand where my Latin life will be once free agency opens up on March 16th.
Pete, let's say it does come to fruition. Jimmy Garoppolo's playing in a different uniform next season. Where's the best place for him to succeed and move forward and take a team to another level?
Washington. I think that one would make a ton of sense. That team's built to win now. Defensively last year they had a slow start, didn't play very well. Then they had the injuries. But you look at that front four, one of the best in football. And if you can rush the passer and move the ball offensively, you're going to have success in this league. And I think getting him in there behind which is a pretty solid offensive line when they're healthy. You got weapons there. You have a run game. I think that would be a great place for him.
I don't know that Washington now with the shoulder injury and the surgery. Right now they're just coming off Ryan Fitzpatrick and that hit.
Alex Smith. If he was healthy. If he
were healthy, I'll tell you that I think the Carolina Panthers could be a place where I don't know that they're going to be able to land a big fish in a Deshaun Watson or a Russell Wilson. I think that they're starting to come to grips with that reality. But you talk about what the trade compensation is going to be. Well, first of all, they traded away a ton of their picks when they were trying to win now with a Stephon Gilmore, a Sam Darnold. They don't have the second rounder to give up. They don't have the third rounder to give up. They do have a fourth or fifth rounder, though, that they can give up. And if that's what it's going to take for a banged-up Jimmy Garoppolo, who's going to start throwing at some point, maybe that's the move you make.
Look, I don't know that the Colts are going to be able to upgrade off of Carson Wentz, but could it make sense if you look at the money and you know you got the roster bonus coming up on Wentz? If the Colts ate the Wentz roster bonus and traded him to San Francisco for Garoppolo, it then becomes almost a wash financially, and maybe a change of scenery works. Kyle's going to need somebody other than Trey Lance to have in his arsenal to get through that season, I believe. And I don't even know which one of those quarterbacks is better. To me, it's kind of flipping a coin. But if Chris Ballard, the GM, and the Colts is convinced that I can't bring Wentz back, maybe that sort of quasi solves two problems.
Don't you love this, though? This is the state of quarterback in the NFL. We're talking about Jimmy Garoppolo and Carson Wentz possibly being traded for each other, and Mitch Trubisky is now a hot free agent.
He's an
Are we serious with this?
Well,
they're stopgaps. That's
supply and demand, Pete. It's supply and demand.
And the supply is low, and I want to take it back to the here and now in Indianapolis with these quarterbacks putting their talents on display. The lack of depth, the lack of talent at the position in this year's class. Does that give San Francisco any leverage?
Look, I guess it helps a little bit. But the problem is you could control these kids for 4 or 5 years. They're coming dirt cheap. And you've got Garoppolo, who the $25 million doesn't kill me. It's the $25 million, and he misses so much time, and now here he is coming into another offseason not healthy, right? And you could try to tell me it doesn't affect the trade market. If you trade for Jimmy Garoppolo, you'd like to have him throwing in OTAs. You'd like to have him not just walking around your building in a sling, but being able to kind of be the man and guys see what he can do on the field. And because he's a good leader. You don't hear any people.
He wins.
The guys in San Francisco, the players like him. He's just limited and he's hurt.
Well, consider what teams need quarterbacks. And let's say that Aaron Rodgers, let's play this out, right? Aaron Rodgers stays in Green Bay, right? Let's say that the Deshaun Watson situation is not figured out in time. And maybe he's still on the Houston Texans roster after day one of the NFL draft. We don't know that. But you still have Carolina. You still have Washington, the New Orleans Saints, the Denver Broncos. You still have Indianapolis, because they're either going to cut or trade Carson Wentz, it certainly seems like. So those are just 5 teams I listed. Washington, right. And so you're going to need a quarterback. The Denver Broncos, if they can't get their hands on Aaron Rodgers, they need a quarterback. And they would take a Jimmy Garoppolo over what they have right now. So there will still be a market out there for him, and maybe it will ultimately be a fourth, third rounder.
The quarterback carousel continues to spin. Pete, your final word.
It just amazes me that here we are. The same people who blast Jimmy Garoppolo on a weekly basis now are propping him up. Mitch Trubisky was run out of Chicago, and now he's being propped up.
Look at you.
It's amazing. And the quarterback class stinks, by the way, this draft
We'll see how it all plays out here over the coming days, weeks, and months. But for now, for the guys, Joe Musso sending it back to you.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.